No worries. For those of you I have not met yet, my name is Kimber. I'm the program manager in Colorado Springs, and I'm excited to present today. We're just going to talk about some rest and recovery, the importance of it, and overtraining. So like I said, my name is Kimber. I started in the Roseville office in California, and now I'm in Colorado Springs, which is probably why my favorite place to run has changed to trails, because I'm here now. For our agenda today, we are going to start by defining recovery. Then we'll talk about the importance of rest days. We'll move into how to spot signs of overtraining and touch on Omada physical therapy, the benefit you have access to. And then I'll definitely leave plenty of time for questions. So as we go along, you can put your questions in the chat. You can come off of mute. I don't mind being interrupted, so definitely chime in. But we have Mike and Jenny on to monitor the chat as well. So as Mike discussed last week, when you see a rest day on your schedule, it means no strenuous workout for that day. However, gentle exercise such as walking or stretching can increase blood flow to the muscles, which can help aid in recovery. So this is called active recovery. Active recovery is when a person does any slow or low intensity activity. So this can include things like stretching, mobilizing, yoga, a light walk, swimming, or my favorite, getting a massage. So active recovery can prevent long-lasting muscle fatigue by reducing lactic acid buildup in the muscle. So that burning sensation, it kind of reduces that buildup. It can increase blood flow to the muscle tissue, and it can reduce muscle tears and the pain that results from that. So why do we need rest days? Why are they important? Well, in short,
Hey,
they
Kimber,
help our, yeah, go ahead.
how long for those previous on that previous slide? There's no time given. Like, so if you did low intensity activity for 3 hours, does that count the same as 3 minutes?
No, so we'll get into that as we go along. We'll talk about what that looks like. It's more like having full rest days or active recovery days. So doing these things like mobilizing or yoga as your workout for that day. So as long as the workout would be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, instead of choosing to go for a run or a fast walk, you would choose to stretch for that time or do a yoga class for that time or swim. Does that make sense?
I think so. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think we'll get into that more as we go along, but if you still have a question after, let me know. So rest days, in short, they help our bodies repair and recover and in turn prevent injury. So it's during the post-exercise phase or periods between our workouts that our bodies actually change and adapt as a result of our last workout. So when diving in a little bit more, we can see that studies show rest days can help alleviate muscle pain and soreness. And they do this by giving the body a chance to remove that excess lactate from the muscles. Rest days can help repair and build muscles as well. So during our rest days or recovery days, our bodies create cells that go in and repair and build up the muscle tissue that was broken down during training. Rest days also, during that time, they replenish the body's energy stores. So during recovery, the glycogen energy stores that were depleted, that we used during our last training session, are now replenished. This reduces that muscle fatigue and prepares the muscles for our next workout. So without diving too deeply into the science behind it all, I thought this graphic gave a good picture of the work your body does to replenish those energy stores on recovery days. So while a rest day might feel lazy to you, because I know I fall into that. If I don't do anything, I'm like, oh, I had a lazy day. Your body's actually working really hard to prepare for that next training day. So as you can see, during your recovery, your glycogen stores or that energy source that you use during training is almost tripling in size. So if we skip that recovery period, we're going to move into our next training phase on very little energy source. Rest days can also help decrease the chance of injury. So over-exercising or overtraining, which we're going to dive a little bit more deeply on in a second, puts repetitive stress and strain on muscles. So making time for rest days decreases the chance of overtraining and in turn helps prevent injury. And then rest days also allow for a mental reset. So following a longer term training program can be very exhausting, not only for the body, but also for the mind. You're constantly trying to plan and prep for your next training, try to fit it into your schedule. And if it's something very new to you, that's extra mentally tiring. So when the mind is tired, that's when we stop prioritizing our form because we just don't have the mental energy to do that, which can then lead to injury. So rest days allow that mind to reset and in turn get more out of our training days. Now, we can't talk about rest without touching on sleep. We've all heard that getting optimal sleep is good for us, and that is very true, but sleep becomes extra important when we increase our activity level, and especially when we are doing an activity our bodies may not be used to, like walking or running longer distances or at a higher intensity. So while we sleep, our bodies continue that recovery process. This includes releasing hormones that aid in tissue repair and energy production. And some of these hormones are only released in certain stages of sleep. So the more time spent sleeping, the more time for muscle tissues to regenerate and grow. So maybe you wake up one morning and you know you didn't get a great night's sleep, or your body is just feeling weak, lethargic, depleted. It's not a bad idea to look at your training for that day and adjust it. So it doesn't mean you can't do any workout that day, but maybe you swap days with a less strenuous workout. So maybe today is supposed to be hill repeats and you're just not feeling it, but tomorrow you were supposed to do a yoga or stretching day. So maybe you can switch those and do that stretching day today. So you can give your body some extra rest. We need to remember that the end of one workout is really the beginning of the next one. So as soon as we finish a workout, our focus should be on refueling, rehydrating, and sleeping. How you recover will determine how prepared your body is for your next workout so that you can achieve the best results possible. Too much exercise and not enough rest can result in overtraining. Now, overtraining can be harmful not only to your joints and overall health, but it can decrease the effectiveness of your training. So you're just not going to get as much out of your training sessions. So some signs of and symptoms of overtraining can be consistent soreness, strain, and pain. So when you exercise, like we mentioned, that your body breaks down those muscle fibers in order to adapt and grow to the work you're doing. So if you don't give your body adequate time to rest, your body's not able to repair these breakdowns of the muscle, which can lead to soreness that never goes away, and even strains or tears in the muscle because you just keep tearing them and breaking them down. Overtraining can lead to overuse injuries, so higher impact repetitive activities like running can put stress and wear and tear on joints, which can lead to injuries such as shin splints, stress fractures, oh my goodness, it's Friday, and plantar fasciitis. Overtraining can lead to fatigue, so you can feel excessively drained. So it's not even the normal, like I'm tired from my last workout. It's feeling excessively drained. You're just never getting that energy back, especially during or right after your workout. So you just don't feel as strong during your workouts, which leads into your workouts feeling more challenging. Your workouts might feel like they are more difficult or take more effort to complete, even though you are working at the same level as you have been. So that's something that you'll notice, that maybe you're walking or running at the same pace, but you're feeling extra depleted and fatigued. One common sign of this is that you notice your heart rate is taking longer to return to resting once you finish exercise. So maybe you notice that instead of taking 3 minutes to come back to a resting heart rate, you're taking 5 to 8 minutes. Overtraining can lead to persistent injuries and muscle pain. So you might notice chronic injuries or nagging injuries that are lingering for a long time. This is when we would recommend that you see your healthcare provider or a physical therapist. So we wanted to mention that you have access to Amada Physical Therapy. This is free virtual physical therapy. You can read more about this benefit through the HPE Wellness portal. Jenny is going to put that link in the chat right now, but then we will also upload these slides at the end, and you can access it there. There's also a lot of other wellness benefits you have access to, you can read about on that page. So you can avoid overtraining by working within your limits and allowing enough time to recover between workouts. Rest and recovery should be considered a crucial part of your training plan in order to get the most out of your training. So it's not a part of the program that should be skipped or overlooked, as much as I think a lot of us can look at our training plan and say, oh, we don't need that rest day, we'll just add in this. It's actually a very important part if you want to get the most out of your training. In next week's huddle, Brooke is going to be talking about fueling your body with the right nutrition to sustain your training. This is also a very important factor in avoiding overtraining and getting the most out of that training program. So I wanted to open it up for questions. It can be on this topic about rest, recovery, overtraining. It can also be about any of the training resources that we've sent you.
So that guy you showed on the recovery day looked like he stayed in bed the whole day. There was no low intensity activity, however we define that. I'm assuming
Yeah,
that's just pure recovery.
Yeah.
That's not active
I'm
recovery.
hearing this difference between low intensity and then fully recovery, and I'm seeing a picture of a guy just lying down.
Hey,
Yeah,
John,
so
they
there's-
used me as an example. That's why it's on there.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Well, I'm
yeah,
just
so
wondering, I mean, do low intensity yard work, walking to the post office, blah blah blah, how do you make that distinction between I'm doing a recovery day, but I'm out cutting the hedge?
Yeah. I'll answer and then I'll let Mike jump in too, because he's an expert
Mhm.
on this. But I would say that it's kind of, I know people probably hate this answer, but it depends on who you are and what your level of intensity looks like. Because for some people that long walk to the post office might be a little too intense that day. But every day, every recovery day or rest day, it's going to differ for you. So if you wake up and you're feeling like, oh, I'm really tight and sore, stretching and mobility would be a great idea for you. But if you're waking up and feeling like my body is just completely depleted, then taking it easy that day is going to be the right answer for you. And that can look different day to day or recovery day to recovery day. Mike, but I'll let you jump in.
Yes, totally agree. So it really, like Kimber said, it really depends on you and what you're doing. So if you're, like you mentioned, a 3-hour walk, that for most people that would not be active recovery, that would be the workout. So it really kind of depends on where you're coming from. You know, if you're a marathoner or something, then your active recovery might be longer. But typically, after a workout, your active recovery, whether it's foam rolling, just doing a light walk or whatever it might be, it's probably 10 to 15 minutes post workout. And then if you're taking an active recovery day, the recommendation is usually 20 to 45 minutes. So it could be, 20 to 45 minutes of walking to the post office, doing some light yard work, things like that. So that's, it's really getting away from, the core of what your exercise is. So if you're training for a race, you're running all the time or running, 3-4 days a week, whatever it might be. So it's getting away from that activity and doing something a little lower level to recover from the running days.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question.
So you're saying pain isn't just weakness leaving the body?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
I know, right? That's what I've always been told.
Some people say pain is pain.
That's what I reply, yeah.
Like it depends on where you're starting and where you're going. So
I have a buddy who's got a sore calf muscle. I don't think it's Achilles. I think it's calf. He doesn't think it's torn or injured, but it is sore, and running seems to aggravate that. Do you have any advice for how to deal with that?
Well, I'm not a physical therapist, so I would say he should consult his healthcare provider or physical therapist. But in my experience, I would say that if running is aggravating it, I would not run for the time being. I would ice, rest it, light walks if he's able to, like that movement, if he doesn't think it's torn, will be helpful for it. But high intensity exercise or anything that's aggravating it, I would stay away from.
Okay, thanks.
Great questions. Yeah, Jenny just put in the chat, rest, ice, compression, elevation. It's the best answer.
Yeah, but
know
if he takes a week off and then he tries to run the following week and it just aggravates it again, yeah, that's definitely pointing towards something else, I would think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's something going on there. Yep.
Getting him to
I
sit
had a
still for a
similar
long period of time is hard.
experience. Sorry, I just had a similar experience several years ago, and it was driving me nuts because I couldn't run, and I'd take a week off, and I thought, man, that's got to be plenty of time, and it just kept coming back. And Kimber probably remembers I'd go in there just like so upset because I couldn't run. And it was really Rice, and just not, going more than just 1 week. You got to go try 2, and if that don't work, try 4. I think it ended up taking about 4 weeks of just not running, really just maybe doing a little bike and just trying to really rest a lot to get it to recover. Of course, obviously go see your doctor first, get x-rays and that kind of stuff, because it could be fractures and stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, how much does
Just-
age figure into this, as far as recovery and such? Maybe
Yes.
it's a month for you old folks, but maybe only a week for us young folks.
yes, it takes a lot longer.
Yeah, recovery does
It
change.
definitely takes longer to recover.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think with even just a sore muscle, like patience is key, which can be the hardest, especially for people that are physically active and love that physical activity, both the mental and physical benefits. Patience can be really hard, but in my experience, patience is the key to letting an injury heal fully and not pushing it. So that can be the best thing for it. But recovery definitely changes, and as you age, and usually lengthens. The time period definitely lengthens. Great questions and discussions. I love it.
I'm finding after a long run, as I age now, it's really nice to get home and take a nap.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so it's something I didn't do when I was younger, but now that I'm aged a little bit more, that
Mhm.
nap, I look forward to that nap afterwards.
Yeah. Do you feel like after your nap, your energy level comes back pretty well, and you feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can continue your day?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I used to run, just get up out of my work chair and go run. And over the years, the other thing that's changed about not only adding more rest, but a lot more pre-workout warm-ups, and
Yeah.
really trying to stick to it, because I've always been one to just bypass it. Oh, I don't need it, I'll warm up running. And it really helps to just get those muscles moving, getting them warmed up, especially after sitting for as much as we do. And then stretching on the way out too, right? So once the muscles are
Yeah.
loose, get them stretched. So I think both of those really help, at
Yeah.
least for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit older.
We
How
used to
long
be
is
able to
the warm-up?
get away with it a long time ago, right? We could just, like you
Yep.
said, you could just get up out of your chair and just go for a run, come back and sit back down, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely as we get older. I mean, it's, the preparation and the stretching after is important for anyone, but I think especially as we get older.
How long is that warm-up?
I do
Warm
about
up
10
can
minutes.
be
About
Sorry.
10
Yeah.
minutes?
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
So mine is
depends on the person.
about
Also
50.
depends on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine is
So
15
typically they
minutes
recommend
before
like
and
10 to
after.
20%, right? Like 10 to 20% of your training time, typically. But again, it depends on if you need more of a warm up. If you have some issues, joint muscle issues, then you might need a longer warm up.
Yeah. I think also, like Mike, you touched on it, what is like that mobility or stretching before is good for anybody. And I think if you do it, you notice the benefits of it. But when you're younger, you can get away without it, and you're still going to you're going to get something out of your training. And when you're older, you're going to get you'll feel more injuries and more stiffness from that, if you're just jumping right in. But that mobility beforehand, even if you just have time for a couple exercises, like we want that 10 to 20%, but if you can just mobilize the joints you're about to use, I think you'll notice, I know I do, a huge difference in the way your workout feels before, during, and after. Great conversation, guys. Any other questions, whether that's about recovery, warm up, cool down? Remember, we do have those videos, the warm up and cool down videos. They are pinned on the Slack channel. And then you can get them in last week's slides as well, which are in the Teams chat. Mike, do you have a question? I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted, not a question, but I just want to go back to injuries and things like that. And as we get older, we talked a little bit about this when I talked to Jenny in the podcast that we did about shoe selection. So how important shoe selection is, whether you're walking or running or doing high intensity workouts, whatever it is, but particularly running because you're taking so many steps. But I found that my shoe selection has changed quite a bit as I've gotten older. So that's something to look at too. And if you're having calf issues, if you're having shin splints, if you're getting, tight hamstrings, whatever it might be, take a look at the shoes too. Sometimes that can be the cause, especially with shin splints. I've found, when people are getting the same pain on both sides, both legs, typically it's a shoe problem.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, Mike. Shoes definitely help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I know a lot of, oh, go ahead, Bob.
What's your thought on the finger shoes there? The minimalist. I tried them.
Yeah.
I didn't really. They weren't for me. But what's your thought on those?
No, I've tried them too, and I just couldn't do it. I was getting a lot of calf pain because you're forefoot running. Then you're landing on your forefoot, which engages your calves a lot more. So I just couldn't.
Mhm.
I just couldn't do it. So it depends. I mean,
Aren't
I've
they
seen
really
people
close
in
to
race.
like? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, aren't they a lot more zero drop? I've never worn them, but I've tried more of the closer to zero drop shoes, and they're just lots more strain on me because I've,
Right.
my whole life I've worn shoes that have a sole that have a drop to them, and
Yeah,
tried to
that's
switch all at once, and it just really made it bad. Right? So
didn't do
take
you any
those back.
favors, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean
It
they're
was a
zero drop,
fad.
but there's also practically no support or cushioning under them.
No padding. No padding.
No padding, and
Yeah.
again, it depends
Right.
on you, depends on your body. I mean, I'm 185 pounds on a good day, and I can't run without cushioning and support. I'd destroy my feet. But I've seen people in races who are doing marathon distance completely barefoot. I've seen people in flip
Yeah.
flops running. It just
Yeah.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
But there was a guy, I was up in Lake Placid once getting ready for a race, and the day before the race, there was a guy in the shoe store. I was buying socks or something. This guy was in there to buy running shoes for the race that was happening the next day. He said, "Oh, I've been running in the the Vibram 5-finger shoes in all my training, but usually when I get to mile 18, my feet start to bother me or whatever. So I want to get some running shoes." And this was the day before the race. Like, you should have thought about
Yikes.
this a while ago.
I
Yeah.
wear
Way behind.
barefoot shoes when I run.
You what?
You do wear them?
I do wear barefoot shoes when I run, but
And you
Yeah.
like them?
yeah, but I've been wearing them from over a year before I
Mhm.
started running. So
Yeah.
you would have to invest a lot of walking time before you
Right.
start running,
Mhm.
because you have to build up your muscles in your feet first,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you'd
Yeah,
have
you
to
do
can't
do,
just go right into it.
and you would have to do a lot of tib lifts, a lot of calf raises,
Mhm.
sitting
Right.
and standing calf raises
Yeah.
to adjust to them, because it's a it's a big strain on your
Mhm.
tib muscles,
Yeah.
because you're landing on your front of your foot most of the
Right.
time.
Well,
And
I
that,
really love my Hoku 1-1s.
Mhm.
but
If you have, like your friend with the leg stabilization issue, or the calf issues, I would look into them at least. They're a lot more wider on the platform, a lot more drop to them, huge amounts of cushion, and they're super light and a little bouncy too. And they'll really stabilize the foot
Mhm.
and really help to keep keep those injuries down. When I had that same injury where it was plantar, it was calf, it was shins, it just kept moving around my leg. I went to the shoe store. So Mike's great point. Went to the shoe store and they hooked me up with those Hoku 1-1, and I've bought a pair ever since. I always keep a couple pair because it's not
Mhm.
good to run in the same one every day, but a couple pairs of different shoes, and those are one of my favorites.
Hey
That and
Shane,
Yeah.
Brooks.
can you put that brand in the chat, please?
Sure, I will right
Thanks.
now.
Hey,
I think
Joseph,
my
what's
best.
the,
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask Joseph what he's working on an experiment with essentially the barefoot running. I was wondering is he seeing some benefits to,
Yeah,
taking a
I do.
year?
I had planters in both of my feet. I had Achilles tendonitis in both of my feet. All of that's gone now.
Right.
Because that would have just like constant pain.
Mm-hmm.
I tried inserts, it didn't do anything. Comfier shoes didn't do anything. But stepping away from comfort helped me more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I think it
And
sounds like you've been really intentional to strengthen the muscles that you need to stabilize the ankle and the foot.
right, I do a lot of sleds. I do a lot of reverse sledding, lateral sledding, a lot of the sled tank pushing.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of things
Great.
to strengthen my ankles, and nothing's really flared up
It's awesome.
in a while.
That's great. Yeah, and that
But
kind of goes to the whole point of how individual the shoes are, because I went from New Balance 680s, whatever they are, which is kind of a medium, not much of a drop, but kind of a medium cushion, medium support. And then I decided I was going to try something. I can't do Hokas because the arch is too high for me. It just feels like somebody's sticking a marble in my arch when I walk in those. And so I got some A6 Gel Nimbus a few weeks ago, or about a month or two ago. Ran a few times in those, and I started getting shooting leg pains and all kinds of stuff. So I think it was too much bounce and too much support for me. So you really just gotta trial and error, go to a shoe store, and
I I do wear ultras most of the time when I run.
Yep.
I got 2 pair. I have a trail shoe, which is the Lone Peak 6.
Mhm.
It's like a minimum cushion.
Mm-hmm.
It's very wide. It's 0 drop. I have a big foot, so I wear size 13s,
Yeah.
quadruple wide.
Yeah.
So
You need the room in
ultras,
your shoes.
yeah, for ultras they have the really widest toe spread
Mm-hmm.
in there.
I think
They're wider
best
than my barefoot shoes.
Yeah, I think the best advice for shoes would be, because everyone is so different and you change, like Mike was saying, you change as your body changes and as you get more active. You can go to one of the running stores and they can measure your feet. You can talk to the professionals there, and they can give you a couple options of this would be really good for the shape of your foot or where you're putting the most weight on your foot. I know mine has changed over the years, just as my body's changed, or I had an ankle injury, so my foot has needed more support. So that is my favorite thing to do, is just go to a running store and talk to the people that study feet and know feet best, and then use their tools to get good suggestions. Yeah, Fleet Feet. That's a lot of states have Fleet Feet, which are great stores for that. There's some good things in the chat. There's some good brands of shoe, a lot of different ones. So if you need recommendations, go there. Running stores. Been a fun conversation. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for a minute or so, or just pop them in the chat, come off mute. Thank you all for participating today. It's been fun to hear your experiences and challenges, and yeah, just chat with you all. So thank you all for joining. I will put this recording in the chat, and I'll put the slides in the chat. The HPE Wellness Portal for Omada Physical Therapy is already there, the link for that. But if you have any questions, reach out to me. Mike, Jenny, anyone from our team, we'd be happy to help you. But thank you all for joining. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kimber.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kimber.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kimber. Bye.
You're welcome, Shane.